Hello, everyone. Welcome to the seventh annual HashiTalks event. I'm thrilled to be here as a presenter, and I'm excited to share insights with you all during this 24-hour virtual knowledge sharing session. Whether you are tuning in from across the globe or right next door, I'm looking forward to connect and learn together. In today's digital landscape, operational maturity and security are more critical than ever. In today's session, we will explore how to elevate both the need to unify and the correlation of audit logs from multiple products so that your overall operational maturity and the security standards are improved in your organization. We will focus on HashiCorp Cloud Platform, cross-product solutions, demonstrating how operational owners can improve both security and the operational maturity by streamlining audit log parsing. And this audit log parsing can be done across the HCP suite of products, and how easy it is to integrate with the SIEM tools. We will discuss how to enhance security monitoring and governance across the board. By the end of the session, you will have actionable insights to streamline your process, improve security visibility, and elevate your operational maturity. Let's dive into the session. Myself, Vinodh Shankar, and I'm pretty excited to be here today. I focus on driving growth by working with large strategic customers across Australia and New Zealand region. It is my passion to help organizations reach their full potential through collaboration, innovation, and strategic alignment. If you would like to connect further, please feel free to check my LinkedIn profile, and I'm excited to share my insights. And even if you have questions, you can reach me out directly. Here's a quick summary of today's session. We'll start by discussing key customer challenges, the lessons learned from the field, the overall audit ecosystem, and the events lifecycle. We will explore how to build traceable insights and walk through sample workflows. Finally, I will wrap up with a call for action, providing you with steps to implement these strategies in your own environment. Let's get started. I have worked with a lot of customers using multiple services like identity and release management, cloud infrastructure, and access control systems, each with its own isolated audit logs. Without a unified audit view, customers face several challenges. Let's say the cross-product usage is definitely one, where customers, when they use multiple products across their environment, they often face challenges with traceability. Without a unified audit view, it becomes difficult to track events across different platforms. For example, if a security incident occurs, the operational team must manually check individual logs from each product. Or if you got any automation in place, then it would be automated check, but it is from an individual product point of view. And this takes time and can lead to missing critical details. This is a fragmented approach where you log into each of the products, try to understand the timeline, try to understand what is happening, take that log, and then try to correlate with some other things. This approach makes it really hard to understand how difficult products are and how different they are in terms of interacting, and to spot potential issues before they escalate. Followed by that is the end-to-end visibility, where when the security measures at the product level are typically strong, the lack of end-to-end visibility across products creates organizational gaps. Security teams may identify a suspicious event, let's say an unauthorized login attempt, within one system. But without the visibility into all the other systems, you wouldn't know what is the full scope of the attack. This lack of cross-platform correlation makes it harder to analyze the complete picture of a security event. This eventually slows down the overall response time and leaving the system more vulnerable. And finally, the audit readiness of the overall platform. The audit readiness becomes a significant challenge when there is no unified view. During the security audit, teams are expected to provide a consolidated timeline of events across the platform. The forensics that we usually submit to the audit team should have events like, let's say, what time the event started, who are the players that logged in, what are the different products and platforms that they touched in, what are the different sorts of CRUD operations that they perform. And when we don't have such sort of data that is gathered together, it becomes slow and error prone. This can lead to incomplete or inconsistent data analysis, raising concerns during audits, and making it harder to meet the compliance standards, particularly in highly regulated places. The challenge discussed are especially common in industries where security, compliance, and governance are paramount. For example, the financial services industry has very strict regulations. The regulatory industries demands comprehensive audit capabilities to meet the overall standards that they have set. Educational and government sectors handle very sensitive data and face stringent oversight. The key personas that we will be focusing today are the operational teams, the managers, the security team, and the SRE, who is responsible to ensure there is lights on, and also who is responsible for the overall readiness of audit and compliance. When the organizations use a range of products and platforms to meet their operational needs, below are the common challenges that has been faced. It is harder to identify whether an issue is due to an unauthorized user behavior or limited knowledge of the user on the access level or a potential breach in the system. So the breach identification becomes really hard. For example, I have seen customers who have new hires joining the team. Once they join, they may or may not have fullest exposure on the overall compliance of these systems. They might go ahead and perform an action which might trigger an alert. We all have been there at that stage, right? So the challenge is that a real breach, or is that just a training that needs to be done to a particular new member? So the identification of breach becomes really hard if you don't have the end-to-end view of it. Followed by demonstrating the access pattern, collecting the overall evidence, and showcasing the limited privilege access to sensitive data. This becomes increasingly difficult, risking non-compliance and regulatory challenges. This is followed by the governance gaps, identifying intentional and unintentional changes that could impact security, availability, compliance, and all these can be challenging when you're working in a really secure and highly available production environment. The ability to trace events and recover and restore, along with the breach of companies' guidelines, goes completely unnoticed. And it becomes increasingly hard when you have to do it in an isolated way from product to product. And what this all leads to is the operational impact. Detecting unusual user activities, identifying unauthorized access can go completely undetected for an extended period of time, limiting the visibility to users' actions and system events, delaying the incident detection and the response cycle. This operationally cost a lot for the organization because the time to recover, restore the RPOs and RTOs, your SLA will definitely have an impact if you don't have a unified view. Let's dive into a real-time use case where, for example, the customer used a golden image workflow using the HashiCorp Packer that helps organizations standardize the images used for provisioning. The left side of the slide showcases the overall workflow, where there is an integration layer, which can be your CI/CD tools, or it can be a manual workflow that you use to publish your metadata, which will be followed by building of an image. Once the image is built with the right level of access and controls, you will be assigning that to a channel. Using that channel, the image-based provisioning will be happening, and then the lifecycle kicks in, where you either revise the image, keep the end of lifecycle on or off, depending on how you're going to use it, and then make the changes in the configuration files, and the lifecycle continues. The golden image is a classic example we have seen a lot of our customers use. It is essentially a pre-configured, tested, and secured virtual machine image that organizations use as the base for provisioning new systems. This workflow helps ensure that all builds deployed within an organization are consistent, secure, and compliant with the organization standards. With the golden image workflow, the process of image creation is standardized. This means that every image that is built is in the same way, with the same security level of patches, the configurations, the software versions. This consistency is critical for minimizing errors, ensuring security, and meeting compliance standards, as each image is pre-tested and validated before the use. Let's say when we enable the overall audit log streaming, this generates audit logs from the platform to the product to the solution perspective. Understanding whether it is a CI/CD pipeline or a manual user action is key, and enabling the HCP audit log streaming is crucial as it generates events related to buckets, bucket labels, pipeline builds, assignment of channels, and versioning. These audit events are critical for ensuring traceability and accountability in your environment. Additionally, the platform events help track user activity and system interactions, providing the visibility into critical actions taken across the environment. Understanding these events help track changes, identify unauthorized actions, and maintain the overall compliance, making it easier to detect the issues and ensure that all builds that happens, all the deployments that it goes through, or version changes that has been done is completely secure. And more importantly, it aligns with your company's governance policies. The events that are generated provides clarity on where an event originated, how it might impact the larger system, which is key for troubleshooting, security analysis, and maintaining a streamlined operational workflow. As you can see, with each of the workflow blocks that a user or a tool that might go through, it generates a lot of events at the back end once the audit log streaming is enabled. Here's an example of a breach event, right? Happy days, we don't generally go ahead and look into the logs, but when there is going to be a challenging day where there is a potential breach that is happening in the system, we dive into it. And here's a classic example where an access has been disrupted, and it falls under the category of a breaching of an event. With audit logs enabled, the event metadata provides key details, such as the buckets. And as you can see, it also has the end of life tag that is set to false, meaning it is an active bucket. And any image that has been utilized over there needs to be available for the production system to go ahead and provision. The logs also reveal that an active version was revoked, which triggered the overall breach. Furthermore, the timeline forensics offer crucial information about when the action occurred, who performed it, and allows for precise investigation and response. We were talking about the lessons learned on how a new user who joins a company might either need a training or a bad actor who logs into the system and perform a certain set of activity. This is a classic example where you would be able to correlate all the three. You have an active version, someone revoked it, who revoked it, when it is done, and what is the consequence of it. You would be able to build dashboards around it. Let's walk through an example of a data integrity workflow caused by actions taken within the system. Towards the left side is more about activating of an end-of-life image. The first event in this example shows a bucket with an end-of-life image being activated. The image is no longer meant for active use, yet it's mistakenly set as the active version. With audit logs enabled, the event metadata will clearly capture details such as the timestamp, the event type, the user who performed the action, and it helps in terms of investigating the potential misconfiguration or the unauthorized action that has been performed. Any image where it is tagged end of life is true. You don't want that to be active because it might bring in some security vulnerabilities. Towards the right is the other end of the spectrum where someone revoked an active image. The event which we saw in the previous slide is related to revoking of an active image. The disruption of access has been caused to a critical version that is currently being in use. Again, this action is captured in the audit logs with all relevant metadata, helping trace the event specifics, like who revoked it, what is the time that they did it, and then what happened in the overall system. This disruption directly impacts the system's data integrity and could lead to failed deployments or even potential outages in your system. Comparing these two, one of the other things which the overall audit log streaming offers is the timeline and event sequence. By using the event timeline, we can see the sequence of these actions and how they interact. The activation of end-of-life tag followed by the revocation of an active version, shows that the disruption caused in near real time. The timeline provided over here helps in terms of the overall forensics and help pinpoint the exact moment these actions occurred and gives insight into the impact of these changes in the overall system, not just from a product perspective. In this scenario, an event has occurred where an image or a resource is labeled incorrectly. Using a non-standard convention or label that doesn't align with the defined compliance standards. For example, a project that should be marked with mandatory end-of-life tags. This is a production system. You need to have all the mandatory tags for appropriate traceability. This labeling issue can go unnoticed without proper monitoring and traceability mechanics in place. When this mislabeling happens, the system struggles to track and verify the proper classification of resources. It becomes difficult for compliance team to demonstrate that the production resource are properly segregated and monitored, or to even prove that the security controls are applied to the right environments. In case of an audit or a security review, the absence of such clear traceability can expose gaps, increasing the risk of non-compliance or even regulatory fines. The audit events captured detailed information about what happened during the build. These logs include the timestamps, action taken, just like the previous events that we saw. It has everything that it is required for you to correlate and call out what has happened at the backend. The dashboard representation over here displays log event records alongside the build details, providing full transparency into what caused the non-compliance. This information helps track the flow of events from the initiation to when the event occurred, when it is detected, and what is the cause of events, and ensures that any deviation from the compliance process is completely documented. You can also build a notification system around this where it will notify the concerned parties to go ahead and take necessary actions. This sample event is a production environment that is created with elevated access. We have all been there at some point in our career where we have gone ahead and set something which needs to be strictly governed to elevated access. Few things that we have also observed on the field is that when customers try to mimic their development environment, which usually is given with a bit more leniency than the production environment, and then when you roll out the automation that you have in your development towards the production, it might have elevated access. This sample event shows a production environment channel that is created with elevated access that grants everyone permissions. This violates security standard governance protocols. Typically, production environment should be restricted to specific users with necessary permissions, minimizing the risk of unauthorized changes. Granting the universal access exposes the system to potential breaches and also any unauthorized CRUD operations. The lack of access control contradicts the principle of least privilege, which is vital for maintaining security and the operational integrity. This event represents a major deviation from governance standards and highlights the need for stricter access controls. The first dashboard over here highlights a scenario where there is an unrestricted access to everyone, meaning all users have full access. This opens the environment to potential misuse or unauthorized changes. This poses serious security and compliance risks. Proper access control limit should be set to authorized persons only. That ensures the sensitive data and the configurations remain protected. The audit log stream helps in terms of providing what is the service level, what is the project, how many times the event has happened, and when it has happened. The second dashboard captures an unauthorized CRUD operation, where an individual performed a deletion of a channel without the necessary approvals. This action deviates from the governance protocols, and it enables unauthorized users to alter or remove key resources. Both these incidents are mainly due to the elevated access that is granted in the system, and audit log streaming helps in terms of having that overall backlog of events that helps in the forensics of the incident and also the response that you're going to perform on the system. End-to-end traceability insights is key. And HCP audit log streaming helps by capturing both the product and the platform events in near real time, providing a very clear view of system activities for improved monitoring and governance. It is very important to have a holistic operational view. Building traceable insights helps in terms of improving the response time. But the most important thing is to have the ability to integrate the product and the platform events. If these two are not in sync, then what happens is you might have forensics that is very specific to your product or the solution that you have built, but you may not have what is the wider view of things. For example, when I used to work with major critical situations with a customer, the initial forensics that we try to build is what time the actor logged into the system, what are all the different actions that has been performed by them, what are all the different products that they have touched, what is the sort of damage that they have caused in individual systems, and how we would be able to recover and restore each of these things. So the skeleton mapping of a user, or based on a project, or based on any granularity that you specify based on your business logic, is very key for you to proceed further. And that can only be done by enabling and having a unified view of the audit logs. To automate the streaming of audit logs, there are a couple of destinations that is currently available, like Amazon CloudWatch, Datadog, or Splunk, and you could use HCP Terraform. Most of our customers use HCP Terraform to go ahead and automate, to provision, and to maintain the overall system. Instead of manually configuring the log streams, you can use HCP Terraform to define and deploy these integrations automatically. The snippets shared over here can be directly utilized as part of your resource configurations in Terraform, and you would be able to enable it automatically. And this is maintained as a system of record in your overall version control system, and you will be able to revise as and when a new SIEM tool integration is available. For those utilizing HCP, it is essential to enable audit log streaming. This helps you gain detailed insight, not just from a product perspective, but also from a platform perspective. This is currently in beta. The recommendation is that you use this for experimenting your non-critical environments and be ready so that you will be able to utilize once the feature is in prod. By streamlining these logs to your preferred SIEM tool, whether it is Amazon CloudWatch, Datadog, or Splunk, you can enhance your security monitoring, operational visibility, and compliance readiness. The example of the golden image workflow that we discussed earlier is just one part of the samples. The same logic can be applied to various use cases. Let's say boundary integration to manage access to a remote system, or when applications utilize HCP vault secrets so that they will be able to create, retrieve, version control either their dynamic or their static secrets. Even talking this out of the scope of HCP, enabling audit log streaming and having a single pane view of what is happening in your platform and product is very, very important, that you would be able to have a better insight on the operational things that is happening in the overall platform and the system. In this session, we address the challenge of traceability when customers use cross products, especially across the HCP environment. Without a unified audit view, tracking events across platforms can be time-consuming and prone to errors. We explored how audit log streaming and centralized event management can provide a single operational view, making it easier to monitor activities, track events across the platform, and quickly identify the potential issues before they actually escalate. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the sessions and have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me out. Thank you.